Breaking news from 2 Grand. After a pullout of forces by G.O.N Industries from the surrounding areas, Xenon have been increasing their attacks within the system. G.O.N Industries sent representatives to the system to ensure the residents that those within G.O.N Industries are still dedicated to supporting them. However, those talks were met by tragedy. The following footage will be shocking to view. Viewer discretion is advised.
We here at G.O.N Industries are committed to supporting 2 Grand and all Teladi space. We understand that with our withdrawal from the area, the Xenon have been emboldened. But we promise that
over 20 were killed and dozens wounded in the Xenon attack. G.O.N Industries released a statement in response to the event. They stated, "We are deeply saddened by the events that have transpired. Unfortunately, we are unable to commit the aid that we wish to due to the lack of manpower and resources. However, we continue to pursue all devotion in the destruction of all Xenon. We understand what it means to lose so much to these machines of war, and we will not rest until every last Xenon is destroyed." Despite the words and commitments from G.O.N Industries, it remains unknown how they will make good on their promises after such losses in recent skirmishes with the Xenon and the Holy Order of Pontifex. Some are beginning to wonder if such faith in one organization is comforting or foolish. Open market had fallen into complete disarray. The Xenon now officially owned the system, trapping what few stations that had survived, marooned and without support, desperately fighting for their lives. I felt somewhat responsible. I had pulled my acids out of Teladi space to save my own territories, yet guilt still filled me. But I also found myself frustrated. Where were the Teladi fleets? Why was it that the Teladi faction refused to support its citizens? They were more than likely keeping their fleet close to their home systems, either trying to consolidate their forces or maybe simply marking off the Xenon invaded systems as a reasonable loss and not worth the expense. No matter the reason, I found myself in a position where my hands were tied, unable to do much outside of protect my small corner of territory, trying to give my experts time to find a way to counter the Xenon and the Holy Order. Something peculiar happened then. My HQ contacted me with reports of a strange, never-before-seen ship being spotted within Grand Exchange, and it seemed to be scanning near my station HQ. My expeditionary fleet, Osiris, was sent in to investigate this strange craft. Almost on cue, I then began receiving reports from Hatikva's Choice 1 as well. More strange ships were spotted. They were coming from the Xenon Gate, but these ships were not Xenon. These ships looked almost Paranid in nature. These ships were proceeding to fly directly at the defense station Leonidas. The second fleet was quickly scrambled, and thank goodness they were, because these ships were hostile and were seeking blood. After the battle, the ships were scanned and discovered to be part of a group known as the Yaki. Old space captains told tales of the Yaki, an infamous crime syndicate suspected to be roving nomads, preying on trade lanes with their technologically advanced devices and ships. So crazed that those who made contact with them and lived to tell the tale described them as erratic and incoherent. Stories told as if they were the boogeyman, but they hadn't been seen in years. this was a major problem, but something worried me even more. The way the Yaki had come from the Xenon space, they seemed to be running from something. Was it the Xenon, or was there something more terrifying lurking in the dark, scary enough to scare the boogeymen from their shadows? All my forces were placed on high alert, and my attention turned to my expeditionary fleet. It was now beginning to near this mysterious ship in Grand Exchange. Was this ship Yaki? Why were they here? It was now time to get some answers. A cautious sense of relief came over me as I learned the ship was not Yaki, but belonged to a group known as the Sagaris Pioneers. I spoke with a Dr. Rick Feynman, who was the chief science officer on the ship, which was called the Dobersift. While he was secretive of who his people were, he was open about the fact that he was in need of antimatter cells. Having a station nearby making just that, figured maybe a shipment and goodwill would open his mouth to more, so I agreed to bring him a shipment. While I waited, I surveyed the map. Something had changed. Why were so many strangers now showing up? What were they after? What did this mean for G.O.N Industries? I even briefly saw a Xenon Type K destroyer in Argon Prime before the Argon forces there destroyed it. Xenon in Argon Prime. Despite the K's destruction, this made me incredibly nervous. The dam had been broken holding the Xenon back in 2 Grand, and now the Xenon had free reign almost anywhere, including my home system. This is when I saw it. Reports of sightings of an extensive fleet coming through the Xenon gate in Hatikva's Choice 1. My forces readied themselves expecting more Yaki or Xenon, but this fleet stood completely different than anything we had seen before. This fleet consisted of a large command ship flanked by dozens of fighters, all brimming with technology completely different than our own. The designs, the weapons, the markings, all different, but familiar in a way. And this fleet stood, watching us just as intently as we were watching them. After I could not stand the silence no more, I attempted to make contact with the fleet, but they ignored my comms. While this was disheartening, I did notice something. This mysterious fleet was no friend of the Yaki or Xenon, and destroyed both with destructive absolution. This was good news to a point. Enemy of my enemy could be a potential friend, but this fleet made it very clear it had no intentions of being particularly friendly with me and continued to drift just outside of the range of the defense platform Leonidas, watching us. My attention was then called back to the Grand Exchange. My ship with the antimatter cells was now arriving to make the delivery. Perhaps now I would get more information about what was going on and who all the new players on the board were. After delivering the shipment to the Dobersift, Dr. Rick Feynman was more willing to converse with me. I was invited on board and was able to speak with the doctor face to face, and to my surprise the ship's interior was immaculate. While the technology was familiar, it was more advanced and was beyond our current tech level, and the crew looked surprisingly Argon. The doctor and I then talked about many things. A few things though did stand out. They were human, much like the Argon, distant relatives of sort, cut off when the jump gates shut down. But as of recent, the gates had reopened, bringing with it much change. Dr. Feynman, when pressed about the other fleet, finally mentioned their name. The Terran Protectorate. His faction, the Sagaris Pioneers, and the Terran Protectorate were relatively from the same area, but could be no more different. The Pioneers were initially refugees in Terran space when the gates closed, but now that the gates reopened, they believed in exploration and expansion, while the Terran Protectorate were, well, simply put, if you were not them, you were not liked, and if you were Xenon, you were dead. Dr. Feynman was still close-lipped on where these jump gates had opened up, but an uneasy work alliance was formed. We would help each other in scientific endeavors, in return allowing a dialogue between G.O.N Industries and the Sagaris pioneers, hopefully leading to a peaceful friendship and, even better, hopefully a potential ally. Once our meeting was completed, I left the Obreth and requested an update on the Terran Protectorate fleet in Hatikva's Choice 1. My forces in the area relayed that the Terran fleet had left, returning back into the Xenon Gate, a gate where I myself had attempted to enter, fought, and had to retreat from. If they were able to come and go as they pleased from Xenon space, I wasn't sure if I should rejoice or be deeply worried. One thing for sure was affirmed: the universe was now changing, and I wasn't sure if it was for the better. Terran ships were now being seen everywhere, making themselves at home, spreading throughout most systems, but where were they all coming from? Then this is when I stumbled across something very interesting. While checking on my allies, the Antigone, many people have told me different ways, I'm just going to say the Antigone for now, but while I was checking on my allies, the Antigone and Antigone Memorial, I noticed a high volume of Pioneer and Terran ships. With a little investigating, I found it, a newly activated jump gate, and when entering, I found myself in a completely new system known as Sagaris, and it was brimming with Sagaris Pioneer stations and ships. I had stumbled across my first step into the new faction's world. Only time would tell what friendships or enemies would be coming through these gates. Thank you for watching. I think this was one of my few episodes where I wasn't drowned in combat, and honestly I enjoyed it. It was a little bit different, but I think that it was nice to kind of have a lull. But my stress level was probably a lot higher in some regards, because I'm still worried. A new chapter has been opened for G.O.N Industries and the universe. With the Xenon roaming freely, and the Holy Order of Pontifex relocating massive fleets, and new factions now spreading throughout the systems, I have no idea where the future is headed. In the meantime, the best I can do is keep up my ship production and continue repairing and bolstering my forces. Last thing I need is to get caught in my current weakened state. I was able to get 2 more Behemoth class capital ships, the Yaki and Harmonia, as well as 29 fighters to the first fleet, which was repairing in Argon Prime. With all my forces bogged down, broken, and repairing, I have a sinking feeling things are going to get worse before things get any better. If you enjoyed, please like, sub, and share. It really helps my videos get out there and lets me know people are interested in wanting more. I finally hit the big 1,000 subs mark thanks to all of you. Never in my dreams did I think I would be growing this fast. So thank you. I really honestly mean it. Thank you. Also, as a thank you, I'm going to have a Discord set up for everyone, and everyone is more than welcome to join. I've had a few folks asking for one, and I figured this would be a good time and it would be a good idea. So thank you for those who actually recommended this. Here we can talk shop, share mods, tactics, screenshots, and just in general have a good time in a good community. The link for that will be in the description below. Now just remember, the world is scary but beautiful out there. So remember, be kind, check on your neighbor, and love one another. Thanks again, everyone. Peace.